Hello class, my name is Thomas Halverson, and today I'm going to be presenting my persuasive speech on cannabis legalization. As for the intro, the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or blacks, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and the blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. This is a quote from John Enric Millen, who was Nixon's assistant for domestic affairs. Cannabis is a plant that has been around since the dawn of time. It has various uses, but has been the subject of a complicated legal battle that is still ongoing worldwide. As stated in the quote before, cannabis was made illegal to allow the government to arrest anti-war protesters. For a preview of the main points, which is why cannabis should be legalized, it is because it has been unfairly prosecuted and has been used to target minority groups. There are various medical uses and the benefits are greater than alcohol and cigarettes. Legalization will help generate tax revenue and also help prevent prison overpopulation. To get started with my thesis is that cannabis should be federally legalized for adult consumption in America. This plant seems harmless compared to alcohol and cigarettes, yet it remains illegal. This is not because the government cares about our safety, it is because they can't regulate and make money off of the plant. My statement of expertise is that I have been around cannabis since a young age. I have seen how the plant can help and harm people. I have studied the biology of the plant and have also done extensive research into the legal history of the plant. For the relevance link, cannabis use is at an all-time high among high school and college students. We're going to start off with the complicated legal history. Cannabis was made illegal to unfairly prosecute minority groups, and it remains illegal because the government isn't making money off of it. Cannabis needs to be legalized to help put an end to these outdated racist policies. The Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 was the first act which made the possession, sale, or distribution of cannabis illegal in the United States. The name was changed from cannabis to marijuana to associate the plant with Mexican immigrants. This gave the police an easy way to arrest minority groups who otherwise aren't doing anything illegal. Cannabis became listed as a Schedule I drug or a drug with no medical benefits and a high chance for addiction in the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. This was a result of the Vietnam War, as the government needed a way to arrest anti-war protesters. Cannabis remains a Schedule I drug even though it has been legalized for medical use in multiple states. Some may say that if these laws were made to arrest minorities, then why do white people get arrested as well? However, cannabis use is relatively the same among white and black people. Yet black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for the possession of marijuana. Cannabis remains federally illegal because it supposedly has no benefits. However, people use the plant for medical relief from their symptoms. If cannabis is a Schedule I drug, then why is it medically legalized in some places? This brings us to our next section. No medical benefits? Cannabis should be legalized because of the plethora of medical benefits it has. Some of these include help with relaxation, a cure for insomnia, pain relief, help with eating disorders, and help with depression. Cannabis has been used since ancient times as a medicine and has been shown to help people relax. Geological evidence reveals that cannabis was used in many ancient ceremonies, and it was even found in fossilized remains of a campfire from the times of a caveman. When compared to legal drugs like alcohol and cigarettes, cannabis can be considered a safer drug. This is because it is physically impossible to overdose on cannabis. When people drink too much alcohol, they can end up vomiting all over themselves and can potentially kill themselves if they are unconscious. If people smoke too much weed, the worst thing that can happen is anxiety or the person just falls asleep. And as you can see in this chart to the left, the risk of driving on marijuana is significantly lower than the risk of driving on alcohol. Cannabis isn't perfect, and there are some downsides to the plant. If it is being consumed by smoking, then carcinogens can get in the lungs. Cannabis has also been shown to affect motivation and is even called the poor man's heaven because it can make people complacent with their situation. However, there are alternate ways to consume cannabis besides smoking. and many of the motivation problems depend on the individual person. The reason cannabis is illegal is not because of safety reasons. If this was true, then alcohol and cigarettes would be banned. The reason it remains illegal is because the government doesn't have control over the market, and they want to keep their money-making prisons as full as possible. Cannabis should be legalized because it can help generate a lot of tax revenue and will also help combat the prison overpopulation problem. States like Colorado have seen massive increases in tax revenue since they legalized cannabis. This quote from the state's Department of Revenue said on Tuesday that Colorado's total marijuana sales surpassed $2 billion in 2020, the highest amount since legalization. The tax revenue is invested back into the community in projects like road reparations and new community parks. This shows that legalization will benefit the community as a whole. On average, states waste an estimated $3.6 trillion on enforcing these dated marijuana laws every year. If police weren't wasting so much time on cannabis, then they could be focusing on the actual dangerous crimes that are being committed. Legalization would also help combat the prison overpopulation problem. As stated before, black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis possession compared to white people. The reason to legalize cannabis seems to be endless, yet it remains federally illegal. This brings us back to our why. The reason why it remains illegal is because of the systematic racism our government was founded on. In conclusion, cannabis should be legalized because of the various medical benefits it has and because of the money it can generate for state governments. This plant has been unfairly prosecuted since the 1930s and should be federally legalized and removed from the Schedule I drug list. Without the help of educated voters and progressive politicians, cannabis legalization will be up in smoke.